Warning, warning. This is a global ice out. Global ice out. Testing the right speaker. Right. Testing the left speaker. Left. Sound successfully recovered. Swan Commander. Connected. And now, the countdown has begun. And now, are you ready for a journey that goes beyond the norms? The Federal Prospects Hockey League just celebrated its 15th anniversary. With a footprint and fan base rapidly expanding, Swan Hockey is now bringing you behind the scenes. Beyond what you see at games. Beyond the arenas. Beyond the crowds. This is FPHL, Beyond the Glass.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of FPHL Beyond the Glass. I'm your host, Eric Swanek, Swan Commander on social media, and this is the official podcast of the Federal Prospects Hockey League. We had some really good hockey this weekend, and we had a couple teams break their all-time franchise record for attendance. Looking at some notes here, we had the Pee Dee Ice Cats, who this Saturday had 7,837 fans show up. Unbelievable. That was against the Athens Rock Lobsters, and I believe that is an all-time FPHL record for a regular season home game. Again, I said this in a previous episode, the last time the record was set, which was previously by Topeka, that there was FPHL neutral site, at least one neutral site game that had a bigger attendance, but this should be the record now for a home team in the FPHL. So really cool. And then also on Saturday night, we had the Blue Ridge Bobcats against the Twin City Thunderbirds. Blue Ridge set their all-time attendance record as well with 2,888. Other notable franchise attendance records, we mentioned Athens Rock Lobsters last week. So January 10th, they set their franchise record with 5,913. And then going back to the beginning of the season, the home opener for Topeka, the Topeka Scarecrows, that was their best, 6,912 versus Biloxi. That was the game that I was referring to prior about previously holding the record before Pee Dee Ice Cats this past weekend, which should be the new record. There could be, and probably a pretty good chance that there are at least a couple other organizations that set all-time franchise attendance records this season, but this is what the teams have sent in, so this is what I have to go by. Currently, right now, the league has five teams averaging over 4,000 fans per game. We got Binghamton, Topeka, Pee Dee, Athens, and Monroe. So awesome to see these attendance numbers climbing. Not unexpected at all, but fans, you guys are killing it. Keep going. We're going to now be joined by Pee Dee Ice Cats head coach Gary Graham. And after we do that, we'll do our proof of attendance token code for this episode. Let's get into it. What's going on, Gary? Welcome back to the show. How are you?
Good. Everything's going great down here. It was actually under 30 degrees down in Florence, and I hear we're going to get some ice and potentially snow this weekend. So I've been enjoying the southern weather, but starting to feel a little bit more like winter around here.
Yeah, I think our high coming up this week, we have like there's one day our high is like 18. I'm not looking forward to it. I know there's probably some people out there listening that 18 probably sounds nice, but yeah, not here in New Jersey. That's pretty cold.
Well, we're going to bingo this weekend, so it's going to be like 5 degrees and snow and ice, and so yeah, we're gonna definitely be feeling it this weekend.
All right, so you'll be one of those people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. So big race going on in the Continental Division. We've talked about it the last couple episodes, particularly for that 4-5 spot, and you guys are in that battle with Twin City. What's that like right now? And right now you guys are pulling up here. You guys are dead even in terms of points. They have one game in hand on you in terms of games played, but you guys very, very even for pretty much for that 4-5 spot, very even. And even to the number 3 spot, it's closer than it would appear because of the Federal League doing the 3-point system. What's that been like for you right now with that race?
We've been talking about it, keeping them in mind. It's kind of weird it seems like literally over the last month, I know Harry very well. I'm sure they're watching it very closely over there in their locker room. Whenever they lose, we lose. Whenever we win, they win. I mean, it's been that way for like a month. It's been crazy. So no team's really created any separation. Columbus won both their games this past weekend. Athens and Monroe. Monroe doesn't seem like they're going to lose anytime soon as of late. And then, of course, Athens is Athens, right? So we were fortunate to take away some points from them finally on Saturday night. But, clearly for us as a first-year team, we want to make the playoffs. And so that 4 spot is something that we want to achieve. It's definitely something we've been talking about. And, you take a look at realistically the team that we're going to be competing with for that spot is a team like Carolina that's been in the finals the last 3 years, and it's got a veteran group of guys. So, we're trying to find our way still. We've made a lot of moves lately. We feel like we've improved our roster with the moves that we've made. And now again, I don't care what anybody says, we have the hardest schedule in the league by far. Nobody can debate that with me as far as I'm concerned. Now, we go up to Binghamton, and now we get to play the 3-time defending champs on the road in their house after playing Athens, it seems like 6 out of the last 8 games. So, it doesn't get any easier for us. We're going to get to see what we're made out of on the road against a very good team. Yeah,
absolutely. And, with this league, with the way the playoffs are structured and everything, how much is it? Like, obviously you want to win every game. You want to, do as well as you can, but how much does it enter the mindset where it's like, hey, we got to take that 4th spot. That's the goal, because once playoffs roll around, anything's possible. It's best 2 out of 3 series. Anything could happen where, you guys don't need to overtake number 3. Obviously you want to, but you don't need to. Realistically, taking over 4 gives you a very clear path to the finals.
Yeah, we just want to get to the dance. It's same thing. My first year when I was in Fort Wayne as a head coach, that was their second year in the ECHL. They didn't make the playoffs in their first year in the league. They finished second to last in the league. And, when I took over as head coach, the biggest thing was just getting to the dance. Literally, we punched the 72nd game of the season against Kalamazoo on a Sunday. The last game of the season, we actually punched our ticket into the playoffs.
Oh, wow. And
as the 8th seed, and we actually upset the number 1 seed, Reading Royals, 4-1 in the first round.
Wow.
So it was a really unbelievable moment for us as a team, and we were able to kind of build the program from that. And realistically, the reason I bring it up is because that's what we're trying to do. We just want to get to the dance, because anything, like you said, Eric, can happen once you get to the playoffs. And it's just, for us too, we're trying to play hockey the right way. We've been wildly inconsistent this year. We feel like we have the talent to be a playoff team. It's been things just aren't connecting. If we're good on the penalty kill one night, the next night we're not good on the penalty kill. It's if we're good defensively one night, the next night we're not good defensively. If we're scoring one night, then the next night we can't score. There's just it's been every game. It's been something where we just haven't been connecting all phases. And realistically, this past weekend was probably the best weekend of the year for us in terms of, even though we lost Friday night, playing consistent for 60 minutes almost. Friday night we had a blip there in the last 5 minutes, but we played structurally probably the best that I've seen us play all season. Now, can we carry that into this weekend against Bingo's the big $1 million question?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the big sayings is, you're only as good as your last game, right? And the last weekend's been, pretty good for you guys, splitting with Athens, as you said before. And, you guys, it was Saturday night, you took it to Athens, right? That was the 5-1 win. And that was in front of your biggest crowd of the year, which I'm sure was, pretty cool. And then, to my knowledge, that's the biggest crowd in FPHL history for a home game. There's been at least one neutral site game that was bigger, but for a home team, a home game, that was, to my knowledge, that's the biggest crowd in FPHL history.
That's what I read too. It's pretty exciting. I'll tell you, going to Athens and playing in there, I just don't think their barn, they've been maxed out capacity. Maybe they just don't seat over 7,000. It's a newer barn. Maybe they're maxed out at maybe 6,000 or something, but they've had some incredible crowds that we've played in. Columbus, we opened up their barn. They had a really good crowd, I remember. And, it was good to see also Jimmy Milken's group there in Blue Ridge. They had a record attendance for their league over the weekend. I think Topeka had a record crowd too. So, not only are we excited for our organization, but Eric, like I said, we're excited we want to see the whole success around the league, right? This is our league. We take pride in our league. We want to see all of our member teams do good with crowds, as all these these teams do good, the league gets better, more players want to come to our level, and that's what's going to make everybody better.
Yeah, absolutely. We, I mentioned that in the opener, like it's been a gigantic last 2 weeks in terms of attendance, and even more than that, but really some good highlights in the last 2 weeks. That Athens game you mentioned, I'm looking at here, I have the notes, 5,913 on January 10th was their top attendance. And then the Topeka, their home opener, was their biggest, 6,912. And that was the previous record that you guys should have just broken, with your game. And then, as you mentioned, Blue Ridge, they had a record this past weekend for them at 2,888. So it's been really cool seeing this all materialize. And in the first episode that you were on, you gave a lot of credit and touted your front office pretty good. So I want to give you the opportunity to plug them in here, with them pumping, everything up to get the numbers to where they are. What do you want to say on that front?
Well, the beautiful thing about down here, and I think some of the owners, like I know Athens president was in over the weekend, seeing kind of what things are going and how things are going and stuff like that, is everybody is just so all in on hockey in Florence right now and the whole surrounding area. It's really neat to see. This has been coming now. I mean, we had a couple high 4,000s, a couple 5,000s around Christmas break, leading and now into this 7,000, whatever it is. I think in down south, whatever you get away from the high school football times, you get away from college football.
And not to stop you, Gary, but it was almost 8,000. It was 7,837, which is awesome. Almost 8,000,
which is unbelievable. And I think right now the Southern market, we're in SEC, ACC land. When you get away from football, this is now when the crowds, even in the ECHL, you start seeing that, right? I mean, with the scheduling, we're all trying to not have to compete on Fridays and Saturdays with high school football in your markets and college football and stuff like that. So now that we're out of that, you're really starting to see crowds everywhere grow in all the leagues, which is awesome. But again, for us being a first-year team, the front office, again, Scott Brand's done a great job, Phil Bork and all these guys, but our ownership has also really been all hands on deck, and all three owners have played a big part. That was a Saturday, if you didn't know, we had a charity. We had 3 games that day. We had a charity game with Coastal Carolina, who's kind of been like, they come and practice here. Me and the players jump on and help practice and stuff like that. We've developed a close relationship with their club team. Okay. They played the Myrtle Beach firefighter team. Okay.
Oh, cool.
So you get all those guys in there, and we raise a bunch of money for firefighters and for a charity of their choice. And then we had, the Warrior teams, which is 2 of our owners are both former military guys, Mike Ronan and Kevin Boggs. They had the whole military thing game between service members and stuff. They had a game at 5:00 before
That's
our
awesome.
game. So we had all this charity stuff leading up to our big game. And so that's what it made it. And again, it was military appreciation night too. So big American flag on the ice before the game, and having all those things lead into the big game, I thought was pretty cool and very well designed from the front office. Again, kind of having those games kind of piggyback off each other. We had the Myrtle Beach firefighter captain and the assistant captain come into our starting lineup in our locker room, get the boys hyped. It was super cool. They absolutely loved it. We got that on tape, and they were so excited to be a part of our process. A former firefighter that was in Philadelphia had a Philadelphia firefighter's hat that he gave to Houston Wilson, our kid from Philly.
Cool.
Huey wore the hat in warm-ups. Super cool.
That's awesome.
There's just what's really neat about my group, guys, and I know every coach is probably proud of their teams for this, because that's what this league's all about, really is. But my guys do a great job of interacting with our fans and in the community. I mean, they really do a good job, and the fans have just fallen in love with the guys. Makes my job difficult, because when I have to trade guys, they really hate me for it. And I mean, really hate me for it, but that's part of the business. I get it, but we've had to make moves that we felt that are good for our team. And it makes it difficult when these awesome fans fall in love with guys. And, but that's what the ownership's done a good job. I don't know if you know this, Eric, but Saturday they had a big season ticket holder kind of conference thing where all 3 owners took questions from the fans and allowed fans to ask them questions about kind of the player moves that we make. When we traded Gonzalez to Danbury and Eli, that was a big deal because the fans really loved them. And I get all that, but they kind of got out in front of that as owners, and it helps me out as a coach. I'll be honest. I wish they would have helped me out a little bit in Pensacola last year when I had 10 ECHL call-ups to try to like calm the fan base down, because it wasn't
Yeah.
anything that I was doing wrong. It was just, it is what it is. And
Nature of the beast.
yes, I mean, sometimes the owners can help a coach out by getting out in front of things, and trying to help calm the temperature down, and be fully transparent with the season ticket holders, the fan base, as to what's going on, why it's happening, and stuff like that. And so they've done a really good job of helping Nick Graham and I out on the behind the scenes of building this roster, kind of letting the fans know where we're trying to take this thing, how we're trying to improve it, and how we have basically the best intentions always in mind for our club.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something I was going to mention is, another great example of this league of the fan connection with the organizations. And it's great to see, your ownership taking that extra step. And I see letters that they write and stuff on Facebook. I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't really read them, but like, I see that the owners are vocal with connecting with the fans. And it's just another, and you run through everything that you guys did before before that game on Saturday and everything like that. The fan connection is really something special in this league, and not only for the entertainment, but for purposes like that you just said too, in terms of the transparency. And I think that's really cool that you guys are doing. I know AJ and Danbury has done something similar, like where he's very very open house style, like, hey, if you got a concern, let me know, I'll answer it, I'll address it.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. It's very, very unique in pro sports, I feel like.
Well, I've been doing this a long time, and most owners do not do this. So, I mean, it's actually really good to kind of be fully transparent because at the end of the day, these are the ones that are paying the bills. I mean, so you have to keep that in mind, and we want them to kind of be a part of the process. Obviously, their opinions aren't necessarily going to be the reason we're making decisions, but it's always nice to be heard, and sometimes fans will bring up legitimate things that we will think about, whether it's game ops things, whether it's events, whether it's, how we do a post-game interview session, whether we do a post-game skate with the players, the timing, they'll have some good ideas. And, as a business owner, as a head coach, you always have to have your ears open and hear for feedback, because sometimes you'll get the best feedback from sometimes the most unlikely sources.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to transition to you. So you have a lot of experience in many other leagues. This is your first year in the FPHL. How's it been for you? What has been as expected? What has been a little unexpected? What were some of maybe the curveballs where where something was maybe a little harder than you thought, or maybe a little easier than you thought? What's it been like for you?
Well, I think on my biggest struggle was really, you can watch film all you want, Eric. Okay. I can watch watch video when I'm recruiting during the summer, but until you actually get around the players themselves and see them on the ice and see them, what they can do on the ice, there's definitely some mistakes that we're going to make. And, that's not a knock on guys that we signed during the summer, but, you're not going to go 100% from the field when you're recruiting guys, especially when you're new to the league. I think Nick helped me out a lot, but, until you start working with players and seeing what they can, what they can't do, what their hockey IQs are, what their personalities are like, everybody's coming from a different background. And, there's a certain standard that I want to have for our club. And, I don't want to say it's the wrong way, but that standard might not be the same standard with other organizations. And,
Sure.
You're going to have X amount of time to show me that you can buy into this standard. And if you can't, then clearly it's not a good fit. Right. And so that's what happens a lot. We don't want to have to make a bunch of roster moves. Okay. We had to go through the grind of kind of playing the Columbuses, the Twin Cities, the Athens, the teams, the Blue Ridges that we see all the time. We've seen them all. We know how they're built. We know what our deficiencies are. We're trying to always improve our team to the point that we can match up against any of those teams. And so one thing I'll tell you, out the gate is we were just too small. We're just too small.
Okay.
And so we've been trying to address that, with our club is to try to get heavier on the walls, heavier on the forecheck, a faster north-south team, a team that can play more on the forecheck. I felt like we had too many of the same type of players early in the season. We didn't have a lot of guys that were really, I could say, hey, this is going to be your role. I need you to do this. Everybody wanted to have 50 points pretty much, and everybody wanted to do it their way. Not everybody, but, there were some guys that didn't want to do it the way that we needed them to, right? And so you're trying to figure out what guys can do this and what guys can't. And so there's that was probably my biggest adjustment is, you can do all your player research with former coaches, former players that have played with the guys, watch the film. But until you get them acclimated into your system and how you want to play, you don't quite know if it's a fit yet. So we have had to make some adjustments on the fly to try to improve in certain areas, get more depth, again, ultimately find the right personalities for our club. So that would probably be the biggest challenge. Now, there's been so many things, though, I can tell you, though, that the owners have helped me out with, and Nick Graham. Like, without Nick Graham, I'm a different coach because he knows this league so well. And he's helped me out tremendously to be able to focus on coaching. Majority, Eric, at the time, like in Pensacola last 2 years, I did all the bus, the travel, the hotels, the payroll.
Yeah, everything.
Everything, immigration, everything, practices, individual video. Nick takes a lot of that work off my plate and allows me to be able to focus more on finding players, talking to agents, working on practice plans, working on pre-scouts, studying other teams. It's freed me up to do a lot more hockey things. And that's huge because, Pensacola never wanted to spend the money on an assistant coach for me. It's funny now, all of a sudden this year they hired an assistant coach. I'm like, where was that before? It would have made things a lot easier. But it really helps having a Nick Graham around it. And any coach will tell you, if you got somebody else that can take some of that work off your plate, can make you a more effective coach. I will give credit to my captains, my leadership group too, Eric. They've we've been through some tough times this season. We had a long losing streak there. And, the biggest thing is with our group is that the captains brought awesome knowledge into the captains meetings every Monday we meet. And, we've been able to find ways to work through things. We've had adversity with our group. We've worked our way through it. We've had some heated arguments between guys and me and guys, and we found a way to work through it. And, that's the best thing is that when you're all working together for the first time, we all have the same common goal, which is we want to win. We want to get to the playoffs, have success. But how do we go about doing that as a group? You have to trust one another. You can't do anything in this game without trust. The captains have to trust me. The players have to trust me. The players have to trust the captains. Everybody's got to be on the same page. And there's just been times this year where you can just see it in our play where, some guys are on the same page, some guys aren't. We just try to work on it behind the scenes as to what's keeping us from taking that next step. And I thought this past weekend, really even into the weekend where we lost both games in Athens, we still played pretty well. We've been playing some better hockey over the last 2 weekends. I think that goes a lot to the group in the room as well as the captains.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people don't realize like how much the mentality comes into play, at this level and in other levels, and really in all other, in all sports too. Like how much of this is mental in terms of like what you just said, in terms of everybody coming together cohesively. And somebody can have all the skill in the world, but if they don't have the mental capacity to understand one another, or get on the same page, or, it really doesn't work. And especially, you mentioned the strength of schedule that you guys have this year. I mean, you got to be focused. Like you guys are going into battle every single week. And I imagine that mentality is probably more important for you this year than it has ever been with the strength of schedule.
It's a very good point. And, we're putting ourselves up against the best. It seems like every weekend. We want to raise the bar. We want to have high expectations, but, bringing a guy like Xavier Abdallah in has really helped out too. He's probably the only guy. I think he's the only guy besides me on the team that's actually won a championship. And so, we really felt like we have some guys and there was some experience, but we have a lot of guys that have come from programs, Eric, that haven't gone deep in the playoffs ever. You know what I'm saying? They haven't won anything. And I can tell you this as being a part of 4 or 5 different championships now, is that stuff matters. You need guys in that room that know how to win, that know how to get it done in crunch time, that know how to have a hard message in the locker room with the team, because everybody wants to be liked. I want to be liked as a coach. I'm a human being. I want to be liked, but I know I'm going to have to say some things that are going to offend you and get under your skin. And I can't be scared to say hard things, just like captains. They have to be willing to if a guy's not buying in or he's not pulling his weight, just me saying it, it's going to be probably more effective for the captain saying it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so it's not always a popularity contest. And that's where what you said is right, is that, if you talk to any level, especially these more single A, SP, Fed, ECHL, especially, you're going to win with those leaders. I'm telling you. I mean, all of us coaches know X's and O's. We all know what we're talking about. Every single one. Doesn't matter if I've done it 10 years longer than this guy. We all are preaching the same thing. It's X's and O's, blah, 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 blah. It's the guys in the room. Those are the guys that make it happen. And, we're just kind of steering the ship is basically what we're doing as coaches and making corrections and stuff. But I'm telling you right now, like, we got a very good group of captains. And I feel like because we've had some adversity this year, that's good for our club because it's going to make us come out of it. And I think we're going to start coming out of it here. And for having to deal with that type of adversity, it's going to make us a better team in the long haul, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And every team goes through, adversity at some point throughout the course of the year. So in a way, a lot of times it's also nice to get through it and be like, all right, that was it. That was the speed bump. Like if we do everything, if we do everything right from here on out, it should be, not smooth sailing, but smooth sailing. Yeah. Hey, that was the foul tip that we were waiting for. That we just fouled straight back. Now we're going to swing for the fence. Like it's go time.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're trying to reemphasize to the group. It's like we've been trying to, we've had this disconnect with our team when we play a good hockey game. As a coach, I'm trying to keep reemphasizing to the team, we had success because of these reasons. These were the reasons why we had success. And like today in our video meeting this morning, reemphasizing, why did we have success, guys? Why did we have success? Because that's the one thing, we have a talented team, but I feel like they don't understand sometimes as to these little things that I'm stressing all the time, how they're actually adding up to meaningful results. And when we don't do them, we don't have the results, right? And so it could be something as easy as how we enter the zone and how, what we're doing, our habits, how we enter the zone. If we go out and practice and do it the right way, or are we going to go back today and practice and do it the wrong way, like we've been doing it, And so for us, again, and every coach is preaching the same thing. It's just about consistency. Every team's got an approach to winning games. We have a style that we like to play. And if we stick to that and we do it and everybody buys into it, we feel like we can win 6, 7 out of every 10 games. Like that's the way we should be. And if we're not doing that, then something else is breaking down. Yeah.
Do what works and do it more.
Yes, exactly. Seems so simple, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And, and sometimes less is more too. Like, obviously, I do a ton of work in junior hockey and I was watching an NHL game last night and I saw a simple play where the defenseman, just stepped out to the, own D zone, stepped out around the dot and just sky hooked one to center ice. Nice, simple, added a zone. And I was thinking like, majority of U18 players and U16 players probably can't do that. Like they're sitting there working on the toe drags and everything all year, all year long. But then something simple like that, probably can't do it. Yep. And sometimes that simple stuff is just so, it wins.
We call that, well, at least I call it
KISS, right?
With D is we say chaos in the neutral zone.
Okay.
Is better than chaos in your defensive zone. So a lot of times as a D man, you might not have a good play with the puck. They might be sitting on the wall. They might be on you. They might be sitting on the middle. There's nowhere to go with it. Glassing out, high flip, great place.
I love that. I love that analogy. I thought you were going to say KISS, keep it simple, stupid, but no, I love that. Chaos in the neutral zone is better than chaos in the D zone. That's one that's used all the time. But like I tell D, it's like, would you rather get a high flip and land it out in the neutral zone and let it be a chaotic moment, or would you rather have chaos in your own end? I mean, obviously, I would. Everybody's going to choose the neutral zone, farther away from your own net. Yeah, puck can't hurt us in the neutral zone, and if it does, we all know who we're looking at.
Exactly,
guy between the pipes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. What's been the best moment so far this season for you?
Oh man,
whether it's on the ice or just something experience wise, like what's been your favorite part for you personally?
I don't know. We had a charity event last Sunday that I really enjoyed. We went to, I'm a big dog person, so we went to the animal shelter.
Okay.
And we did a joint event with them, and they had been struggling getting dogs adopted, and they set a record, like a record, all-time record for adoptions because our team was there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so they had like 20 some dogs get adopted that day.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
There's a bunch of people that showed up, and me and the guys all were, we were walking the dogs. Like I think I walked 5 or 6 different dogs around the property.
Yeah,
and,
that's great.
and now I'm going to start volunteering over there personally. Because I'm bored down here, so I have some free time. So I said, hey, I'm going to start coming over and walking dogs. Although it was actually raining on Sunday. So, but yeah, there's a time slot. I want to go over there and start helping out. But that was something that kind of resonated with me just because that's where my heart's at with animals. But the win on Saturday was special. Athens has been a thorn in our side. And I think it's just not only with winning the game, but winning it the way we won it was even more important. We beat Athens one other time this season, but the way that we won this game on Saturday night was more the way that I want us playing consistently. And it was just good to be able to show the group mentally that we could play a game like that against a good hockey team like Athens. And then again, they got the reward. They got a couple of days off, which is nice.
Yeah. Awesome. And in front of that gigantic crowd, Gary, anything you want to end off with, anything you want to say to anyone?
Just that I know a lot of the fans, whether you're Ice Cat fans watching or whether you're just a big fan of Eric and his podcast, which is awesome, Beyond the Glass. We appreciate all of us coaches and owners. We appreciate all you fans that come out and support all of our teams in our league. We just, really want to tell you that from me to you. And if there's any of you guys that are up in the Binghamton area, we're coming up to play the Black Bears. It's come out there and support the Ice Cats. If you're up north, if you don't like the Black Bears and you want somebody else to cheer for, come cheer for us.
Awesome. Well, sounds awesome. Sounds great, Gary. I appreciate you coming on. Always a pleasure. I'll talk to you soon.
Keep up the good work. See you, Eric.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Awesome stuff as usual there from Gary Graham. Let's do our proof of attendance token code for this episode. The code is going to be FANS, FANS. Fans, enter the code at swanhockey.io on the podcast page, and you will be eligible to receive your proof of attendance token for watching this episode. A reminder, the proof of attendance, the deadline to submit the code will be 9:00 Eastern tonight, the day of the premiere. So Wednesday, tonight, 9:00 Eastern will be the deadline for the proof of attendance token code. Right now, our magic number is 5. Collect 5 or more tokens and you will have access to the Club Fed channel in the Discord server. And that's going to do it for this episode. Until next time, I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you for being the best part of this episode of FPHL Beyond the Glass by Swan Hockey. We will see you soon.